would like to thank YPF platform for providing a platform for all the junior residents and senior residents. And I would like to thank my HOD, Dr. Shami Shastri, for providing this opportunity for me. Today, my topic is transfusion support and its outcome in adult patients with severe sepsis. It was done in coordination with our department and Department of Critical Care Medicine in Kasturba Medical College, Manipal. Sepsis is defined as life-threatening organ dysfunction caused by dysregulated host response to infection by various microorganisms. Mortality rate in sepsis ranges from 20% in moderately severe to 40% in severe sepsis. Coagulopathy is a common finding in sepsis. Inflammatory mediators like TNF-alpha and interleukin-6 initiate sepsis-induced coagulopathy. Sepsis-induced coagulopathy is characterized by hypercoagulation and impairment of natural anticoagulants like protein C and antithrombin 3. The guidelines recommend patients should be started on anticoagulant therapy once they are diagnosed to have sepsis-induced coagulopathy. Transfusion to correct abnormal coagulation profile in the absence of bleeding might lead to worsening of the condition by providing more fuel for ongoing thrombotic events. Based on this background, we aim to assess the transfusion practices in patients with severe sepsis and its effect on the clinical outcome. Coming to the methodology, it was a retrospective observational study on patients admitted to ICU between January and December 2018 in Kasturba Medical College Hospital. All the patients above 18 years of age having diagnosis of severe sepsis and admitted to ICU were included in the study. Exclusion criteria included patients with sepsis who would not require critical care or ICU admission, mortality within 24 hours, patients with known history of CLD and bleeding disorders or are on any blood thinners or any medication, patients who would not consent to participate in the study. The severity of sepsis was graded using quick sequential organ failure assessment or QSOFA score. A QSOFA score of 1 is low risk and a score of more than or equal to 2 is high risk. There are 3 parameters that will be checked in QSOFA. One is altered mental status. If the patient has GCS of less than 15, then the score is 1, and the respiratory rate of more than 22 per minute and systolic blood pressure of less than 100 mm per Hg are the criteria for diagnosis of QSOFA. Coagulopathy was diagnosed with at least one or more of the following criteria: PT and APTT, that is 1.5 times the normal laboratory reference value, fibrinogen levels of less than 100 mg per deciliter, platelet count less than 1 lakh per microliter. The DIC could not be diagnosed as per ISTH criteria in all our patients because of missing data on fibrinogen degradation products and D-dimer values. The hospital transfusion trigger for PRBC was hemoglobin of less than 7 gram per deciliter. For FFP, it was either bleeding or altered coagulation profile. The prophylactic platelet transfusion trigger was platelet counts of less than 10,000 cells per microliter. And for patients with increased risk of bleeding, the platelet count of less than or equal to 20,000 cells per microliter. Patients with active bleeding or thrombocytopenia before any invasive procedures were transfused platelet concentrates therapeutically. Fibrinogen levels of less than 100 mg per deciliter was considered as trigger for transfusion of cryoprecipitate. The decision of transfusion was taken by critical care specialists in coordination with the Department of Immunohematology and Blood Transfusion. The data collection was done through medical records, laboratory parameters from laboratory information system, and transfusion details from blood bank software. The data were recorded on Excel sheet and the analysis was done through SPSS version 22. We divided the patients into 2 groups, into a transfused group, that was group A, and non-transfused group, that is group B. Hemoglobin, hematocrit, platelet count, PT, APTT, length of ICU stay, hospital stay were analyzed using paired student t-test. The transfusion support and changes seen were assessed by using paired t-test and chi-square test and odds ratio. Chi-square test was also used for progression to septic shock, coagulopathy, and MODS in between the groups, and requirement of hemodialysis and mechanical ventilation support in between the groups. Coming to the results, 84 patients were diagnosed with severe sepsis, that is QSOFA more than equal to 2 in the ICU who met the inclusion criteria. 58.33% of the patients were male and 41.66% were females. The mean age of the patient was 51.76 years with a standard deviation of 15.84 years. Septic shock was observed in 64.28% of the patients MODS was seen in 27.38% of the patients, and mortality rate was 91.66 in our study. The mean length of ICU stay was 5.65 days, with a standard deviation of 4.8 days, and mean length of hospital stay was 7.67 days, with standard deviation of 6.9 days. 41 patients, that is 48.8% of the patients, had received transfusion, and they were placed in group A. Coming to the sites of primary infection, 35, the most of the patients presented with respiratory tract infection, that was 35%, followed by urinary tract and GI. A total of 85 units of PRBCs were transfused to 28 patients, that is 33.33% of the patients, with median transfusion of 2 units and IQR of 2. Based on hemoglobin, 57.14, that is 16 patients, were transfused with 52 units of PRBC when hemoglobin was less than 7. For FFP transfusion, it was given to 22 patients. A total of 148 units of FFP were transfused for these patients, a median of 4 and IQR of 4. Total of 22 patients received received platelet transfusion, and 142 units of RDPs were transfused for these patients. For prophylactic platelet transfusion, it was given to 33% of the patients, and 51 units were transfused in these cases. Cryoprecipitate was transfused in 7 patients, and 65 units of cryo were transfused. The mean fibrinogen for cryo transfusion was 74.25, with a standard deviation of 10.23. The odds ratio for receiving transfusion was 10. I am not able to change this slide. Okay. The odds ratio of transfusion in like blood components transfused in patients with or without coagulopathy. PRBC was transfused, 72 PRBC were transfused in patients who had coagulopathy, and 144 FFP were transfused in patients with coagulopathy, like I explained. Coming to the comparison between transfused and non-transfused group, at the time of diagnosis of sepsis, there was a significant difference in at the diagnosis of sepsis in hemoglobin, hematocrit, and platelet count, which was statistically significant. Comparison of morbidities and mortality between both the groups. The length of ICU stay and hospital stay was significantly more in patients who received transfusion compared to people who did not receive any transfusion. And the progression towards coagulopathy, or the patients with coagulopathy, required more transfusion compared to patients who would not receive any transfusion. Coming to the transfused group, the hemoglobin and hematocrit, there was a statistically significant difference before transfusion and after transfusion. It was 0.03 for hemoglobin and 0.016 for hematocrit. However, there was no change in platelet, PT, and APDT. The patient's mortality rate was associated with presence of transfusion events and septic shock by logistic regression, R square value of 0.290. The odds ratio of transfusion events and septic shock was 8.172 and 9.622 respectively. Cutoff value of APDT by ROC was found out to be 47.2. Area of curve under the curve being 0.846. The specificity of 1 and sensitivity of 0.692. The prevalence of comorbidities such as diabetes mellitus was seen in 46.42% of the patients. Hypertension was seen in 44.04% of the patients. Respiratory diseases like pneumonia and type 2 respiratory failure was seen in 46.42% of the patients. CKD in 21.43% of the patient, and coronary artery disease in 13.09% of the patients. Coming to the discussion, sepsis is caused by the response of the immune system to infection, and most common cause of sepsis is bacterial infection, majorly gram-positive compared to gram-negative infection. The occurrence rate of sepsis varies between 13.6 to 39.3 among ICU patients, and it appears to be a major cause of morbidity and mortality in these patients. Severe sepsis is associated with poor outcomes because of host immune dysregulation and MODS. Transfusion is one of the most common intervention in these patients. In our study, the commonest indication were anemia correction for PRBC transfusion, abnormal coagulation profile and bleeding for FFP transfusion, and thrombocytopenia for platelet transfusion, and septic shock was also one of the common indication for all the product transfusion. There are very little data available on transfusion requirements, and it affects on clinical outcome in severe sepsis patients. The mortality rate was 91.66% in our population. In the other studies, the mortality rate was between 60 to 90% based on the clinical status of the patients, the severity of the sepsis, and comorbidities in the patients. The high mortality among the study population may be because the study group included only severe sepsis patients. The underlying metabolic derangements in septic shock might have played a role in the high rates of mortality. Mortality was found to be associated with presence of septic shock, odds ratio of 9.62, and transfusion events, odds ratio of 8.17, and pre-transfusion MPTT values of 47.2 seconds. Anemia correction is important in critically ill patients as it serves to provide end organ tissue perfusion. The presence of coagulopathy was associated with significant risk of receiving transfusion, the odds ratio of 10.02, which may translate to increased usage of FFP and platelet concentrate in this group of patients. There was significant improvement in hemoglobin and hematocrit, like we saw in the table 2. However, there was no correction in PT and APTT and platelet counts. Since sepsis-induced coagulopathy is a procoagulant condition with abnormal PT and APTT, the decision to transfuse should be weighed on the clinical status of the patient rather than on deranged coagulation parameters. If bleeding manifestations are present, FFP can be transfused, whereas transfusing FFP only to correct abnormal lab parameters may not be a judicial way to use the precious blood components. Platelets get consumed in microthrombi formation, and transfusing platelets in the initial hypercoagulable state may lead to accelerated microthrombi formation in the end organs and leading to multiple organ dysfunction syndrome. We believe that establishing a hypercoagulable picture in these patients might help to reduce the unnecessary transfusions in future. Patients who received transfusion in this study were found to have prolonged ICU stay as well as hospital stay, p-value of less than 0.01. Sepsis is an immunomodulatory condition, and transfusion-related immunomodulation may affect the susceptible individual. Transfusion-related immunomodulation tend to prolong hospital stay in these critically ill patients. The incidence of MODS, mechanical ventilation, and septic shock was comparable across the groups. Patients who received transfusion had undergone more hemodialysis procedure, which might contribute to prolonged duration of hospital stay. Patient transfusion was not associated with increase in mortality. It was comparable between both the groups. It was 92.6% in the transfused group and 90.69% in the non-transfused group. The p-value was more than 0.05. The higher mortality rate observed might be due to primary disease severity, the incidence of MODS, septic shock, and mechanical ventilation. Limitations of our study: as it was a retrospective study, few reliable lab parameters like fibrinogen degradation products and D-dimer could not be received, and the ISTH grading score for DIC could not be applied. Coagulopathy in sepsis increases the risk of receiving transfusion without showing any major improvement in the clinical condition of the patients. Sepsis-induced coagulopathy is a procoagulant condition. It would be better to develop an individualized transfusion practice with rational use of blood components in this set of patients. Thank you.